So time now for headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. In the time that I've been on radio today, I have no idea whether my cynicism has been proven accurate, inaccurate, or none of the above. The first words that I said coming on radio today were pertaining to the Academy Awards last night, Chris Rock, Will Smith, and I said, I'm not buying it. I don't know if there's been new developments, if there have been new developments. I think there was zero interest in the Oscars for a lot of reasons that we talked about during the course of the program today. All of a sudden, people are buzzing about it, but it just looked staged. Chris Rock's reaction is not the reaction I would have expected from Chris Rock from somebody cold cocking him. Whether it was a slap or a punch really doesn't make any difference. And the way in which Will Smith, slapped his face, and it's like a goaltender. He knew which way to go. Does that make sense, TC? He knew which way to go with his his cheek?
I don't know. In other words, you think if you slowed it down, if you did a slow-mo, that he would move before the hand hit him like a movie
I'm not sure, but I would like to, I'd like to do the slow-mo on it and see what
I'm sure people have.
Are you still buying into its authenticity?
I am hoping that you are right, because I would rather have you be right and have it be completely staged than have it be true, because then it is so ugly and awful I can't even stand it.
Did you see the story that we posted at Smerconish.com today from Ayanna Pressley tweeting and then deleting support for Will Smith?
Well, and she's not alone. A lot of people, and there's a lot of discussion, especially in Black Twitter, about how this should be handled and that it shouldn't be discussed, that I as a white person am not allowed to talk about it.
Did you say in Black Twitter?
Yes.
Were you watching last night that whole repartee?
Repartee. No.
The repartee between the three hosts?
No.
Talking? Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't watch.
Well, I was, as I said, I was watching,
right.
Then not watching, and then I just totally lost interest in it, and I watched the Zelensky television program.
But the Fox News headline: Ayanna Pressley,
servant of the people,
then deletes support for Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, and that you can find on Smerconish.com and in the newsletter.
So today's survey question and the LA Mag piece from Scott Johnson is really great. Should Oscars be awarded only to movies that have met a criteria for participation by race, gender, sexual orientation, and disability status of cast and crew? Meaning, they call this Aperture 2025. The producers of movies will have to make a submission to the Academy, and unless you have had a requisite number of people in each of these categories in cast and crew, you will not be considered for an Academy Award. Is that a good or a bad thing? Vote at Smerconish.com on that issue. Sunday survey results. We had nearly 9,000 votes cast talking about President Biden's speech before departing Europe. He made the remarks in Warsaw. You know what he said. It was a 27-minute strong speech. Favorable reviews, sort of Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And then President Biden said, for God's sakes, this man cannot remain in power. He was unscripted. Joe had gone rogue. Everybody's buzzing about those 9 words, not the 27 minutes that came before them. I asked over the weekend, was President Biden intending to foment regime change when he said those words? 87% of us said, yeah, that's what he was intending to do. I said earlier, it's okay that he thinks it, but he shouldn't say it. A, because it invites response. If it's okay for Biden to speak openly about wanting regime change in Russia, then why can't Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un do likewise with the United States? We don't want that. Secondly, and this was the Michael O'Hanlon view and my view as well, but O'Hanlon's got the foreign policy chops that I don't have. I'm just spitballing here, but it ices negotiation. We need Putin to negotiate to end the war in Ukraine. He will be less inclined to do so, believing that Biden is stirring the pot against him politically at home. And the third reason is it's actually going to embolden Putin. It's going to do the exact opposite of what President Biden is seeking to do, because it will rally the Russian people around their own, right? I mean, there's a lot of anti-American, anti-West sentiment in Russia, and now Putin gets to tap into all of that. So that was the Sunday survey question. And another interesting thing is the president is really not getting a bump. There's a CNBC link at Smerconish.com talking about a brand new NBC News survey. President Biden's job approval ratings keep falling in his second year in the White House, with just 40% approving of the job that he's doing, according to the new NBC News survey. It reminds me of Jeff Greenfield, having been a guest on the program recently, and he was taking a modern history analysis, a look at what happens when the United States is involved directly or indirectly in conflict. I'm fond of saying it used to be that our division ended at the water's edge, and Greenfield makes the point that that's really never been the case. That just because the United States is involved in foreign conflict doesn't mean that the president gets a bump. When we're attacked directly, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, then, FDR and George W. Bush got huge bumps in the numbers. But otherwise, it's always been a subject of controversy when the United States is in a foreign entanglement. And I guess this one is no different. I think people generally like the reserved approach that the president has had, but it is not translating into any kind of a bump for Joe Biden. Something else at Smerconish.com today. It's the David French Atlantic piece about Ginny Thomas. I talked earlier to Robert Costa. He, of course, and Bob Woodward for the Washington Post broke the whole story about Clarence Thomas's wife's texts to Mark Meadows, the Trump chief of staff. It's a subject that we talked about on the program on Friday. But David French, in the Atlantic piece that I recommend everybody look at, says this: the Ginny Thomas texts were not the most alarming aspect of Woodward and Costa's story. There was a text in the chain that disturbed me more than anything Ginny Thomas wrote, and it came from Meadows, and here's what it said. And I made this point on Friday. This is a fight of good versus evil, said Mark Meadows in response to Ginny Thomas. Evil always looks like the victor until the King of Kings triumphs. Do not grow weary in well-doing. The fight continues. I've staked my career on it. I said Friday here. That's end of times kind of stuff. That's the sort of thing that people say when they think there's divine intervention on their side, and I think that's scary. David French in the Atlantic. One of the most dangerous aspects of the effort to overturn the election was the extent to which it was explicitly a religious cause. January 6 insurrectionists stampeded into the Senate chamber with prayers on their lips. Prominent religious leaders and leading Christian lawyers threw themselves into the effort to delay election certification or throw out the election results entirely. In the House and Senate, the congressional leaders of the effort to overturn the election included many of Congress's most public evangelicals, which is exactly what I was talking about. What else, TC? We've got the ESPN coverage.
Oh, well, that's very important.
Of the Final Four.
Please do not.
I'm the authority. I'm the Final Four authority here. By the way, are you paying attention to any of this?
I cannot believe this. I literally cannot believe this. Yes, you are now the authority. If anyone wonders what we're talking about, please look at Michael's Instagram. Courtside for the Duke Arkansas game. Insanity. That is like the very definition of March Madness. The fact that I was there at the Duke Arkansas game
in the third row.
Third row.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah. I was right next to the Arkansas band, right, like there are two guys with tubas, and I was right across the aisle from the guy with the tuba.
Michael, you were in a position whereby if someone, tripped after they sometimes sort of fly into the stands, you could have been hit.
TC, they could have put me in the game. Coach K could have put me in the game.
Coach K could have called you up if anything went wrong. That was amazing. And now you're involved, right? I mean, now you're interested.
Well, so my wife went to Duke.
Right.
And part of the draw was that potentially I could have been seeing Coach K's final game, but it wasn't.
I know, but now we get to see UNC Duke on Saturday.
What? I kind of felt we have exponentially more callers to this program from North Carolina than we do from Arkansas. You would agree with that, right?
I would say we have more from North Carolina. Why is that?
Exponentially.
Yes.
Exponentially. I mean, honestly,
Yes.
we don't get many Arkansas callers.
That is true.
So I'm now making a statement against interest, meaning probably against against the motivations of our audience, or the loyalties of our audience. But the longer the game went on and the more that Duke was blowing them out, I was kind of hoping that Arkansas would at least
try.
They tried, but at least, I was doing the whole like thing by the end of the game. So I told you
March Madness.
I told you, right, it just got a lot more maddening. I told you at the outset of the program when we first spoke about my presence at the game that I have a very close friend who the night before, and he was the one that I turned to for guidance.
And he steered you correctly.
The night before, he's a Philly guy, was at the O2 Arena in London watching the final Genesis concert ever. Because Phil Collins, they're all older. Phil Collins is not in the greatest of health.
Goosebumps.
But my buddy David X and I went to see Genesis together in Philadelphia in December. And that night, he said to me, the whole tour ends in March in London, and I'm going to go. And if you want to join me, let's go together. And I said I begged off. I couldn't do it. Anyway, so David did go. You would think that was like the sort of thing you say after 4 or 5 beers on your way out of
excited because you watched it that night.
I'm going to go see them in London. No, I knew he meant it. But here's the thing. I have at Smerconish.com today a review and set list of the final Genesis concert ever that he saw. This won't mean anything to UTC, but Peter Gabriel was originally the leader of Genesis, and then when Gabriel left the band, Phil Collins, who was the drummer, stepped forward and filled Peter Gabriel's role as a vocalist in addition to being a percussionist. Peter Gabriel was in the house for the final night in London, never came on the stage, and the show set that my buddy saw in London for Genesis didn't differ one iota from what we saw in Philly in December.
Why is that? I mean, is that unusual that it doesn't differ?
I'll tell you what's unusual. What's unusual is the Grateful Dead. What's unusual is the Avett Brothers, who can come out and play anything at all from their catalog at any given moment. That's why people in the heyday of the Dead, but even now with Dead and Company, will go to back-to-back shows because the set list tomorrow night is not the same as tonight. But when it's Genesis and when it's a choreographed show, and frankly, when you've got, I guess, older guys who haven't been together and on the road for 20 years, they don't mix it up.
Better stick with the program.
So, David loved being there, but he saw the same show that we saw back in Philly. So there's that. But he was not bummed that he made the trip. But Phil Collins announced that Peter Gabriel was in the house. But you would think that Peter Gabriel would have come on stage and maybe they would have done something. from the old playbook.
Wow.
What else?
Headline from the New York Times: Chris Wallace says life at Fox News became quite, quote, unsustainable. This piece and Chris Wallace's quotes are getting a lot of attention today, posted at Smerconish.com and in the newsletter.
Yeah, I just no longer felt comfortable with the programming at Fox. Apparently I don't think we're surprised about this. We're just surprised that he's confirming it, right? That both he and Brett Baer apparently were unsettled, among other things, about Tucker Carlson's, quote, documentary about the events of January 6th. I thought a couple of things. This was Michael Grinbaum's New York Times piece. It's posted at Smerconish.com. All of the headlines that we're referencing right now are posted at Smerconish.com. There's some great, beyond Ukraine and beyond the domestic politics of the day. There's other news out there that you need to be aware of, and this is our effort to make sure that it's known to everyone. The Chris Wallace profile by Michael Grinbaum was interesting to me on several different levels, and a few of them very personal, TC. Did you read the story closely, including what will be Chris Wallace's contribution at CNN Plus, which, by the way, launches tomorrow? Tuesday is the launch date of CNN Plus.
Well, what I found interesting was there was a line, maybe this is what you're talking about, that he said it's going to be like long form one-on-one interviews, and he was going to be inspired by Larry King. And my thought, because I'm so loyal to you, was, wait,
that's what I wanted to do.
I was like, is he taking phone calls?
Yeah.
So, no, that 100% jumped off the page at me.
So you will remember, because, and I don't know that we've fully discussed it on air. I'm sure we haven't, for good reasons, but I'm going to discuss
hey,
it
here
now.
We are.
So you'll remember that months ago, some of the folks at CNN Plus, when Jeff Zucker was still, so this goes back to when Zucker was still the president of CNN Worldwide.
Okay.
And they came to me and they said, hey, for CNN Plus, we know you have a lot on your plate, but what would you want to do here if you did something here? And I know that two of the ideas, TC, I discussed with you.
Well,
one of them was, go ahead, do you remember?
What? Okay, I'm going to say something, and maybe you don't want me to say this, but I'm
say
going to
it
say
all.
right
I
now,
could care less. Just say it. Who
the
cares?
two of the ideas that you pitched.
I'm really upset about something. I may as well put all my bias on the table. I'm very upset about CNN Plus.
Two of the ideas.
Don't you want to know what I'm upset about?
Two of the ideas that you pitched did end up on CNN
Yes.
Plus.
Yes,
just not with you.
Wait, that's not what I'm upset about.
What are you upset about?
I think I have to pay for it.
No.
Yes.
No, I got an email from Catherine.
I got an email from Catherine too.
Wait, I didn't look at it. Do we have to pay for it?
So
small print.
So because I don't want to be inundated with CNN email, I don't maintain a CNN email address.
Yeah, but you have one.
But the thing is,
you have to access it.
You need one in order to get your company subscription.
Oh.
So I think the initiation price is, how much is it? Like $6 a month?
Yes, something like that.
But I think there's a deal. Don't hold me to this. Fact check me, ladies and gentlemen. Don't rely on what I'm about to tell you.
This could all be wrong.
This could all be wrong. This whole program could all be wrong. But I believe that the CNN Plus initiation fee.
What is this, like a country club?
Is. Yeah, exactly. I think, I hope I don't have to get approved or I'll never be admitted. But I believe that it's a very reduced rate.
Oh.
And as long as you stay a subscriber to CNN Plus, which is their brand new streaming service, that it will never go up.
Well, that's nice. I like it.
Don't hold me to this.
Okay.
But I think it's like $3.99 for life or something like that.
If that's true.
Yeah.
That's great news.
So I'm buying it with everybody else.
And then you can see the two shows that you pitched to them on CNN Plus.
No, it reminds me, like, I have to talk to Dave Gorab. Like, I'm paying for so many SiriusXM subscriptions. Seriously.
Why?
I don't know, because I'm not smart enough when my contract comes up to say, hey, Dave, by the way,
But why do you need, when you say so many, why do you need so many?
Just different locations and things.
Oh, boy, this sounds very mysterioso.
Now let's go back to the point that you were making a moment ago.
Two shows.
Because you're absolutely right.
Book Club with Michael Smerconish.
Right.
And a Larry King-esque interview format you took calls.
This is so unscripted and
it's
true.
It's the truth.
When they came to me and they said, CNN Plus, blah, blah, we're like, what could you contribute? What would you be interested? And I said, well, I love author interviews. I have a book club podcast.
And you've been doing book club with Michael Smerconish for ages, even when you were on terrestrial radio.
Well, not only that, TC, you'll remember,
You're not late
like
to the game.
15 years ago, CNN came to me and they said, we'd like to build a show around you. What do you want it to be? And I said, I'd like it to be a book club. And we did a pilot.
This is not new.
We did a pilot.
This is not
it's
new.
in the CNN archives. It's right next to the Ark of the Covenant in the whole warehouse that they maintain.
You can also watch it on YouTube.
Yes,
on your YouTube
it's on my
channel.
YouTube channel.
Yes,
it's right on my YouTube channel.
With you walking through the streets of Philadelphia.
That's true. So I said book club with Mike, and they said to me at the time, we're kind of working on something like that. I didn't know it was Tapper.
Yep.
Jake Tapper is launching a book club. Okay.
Tomorrow.
So the other thing that I said, and you'll be my witness on this, I said, I always loved the Larry King show, and I love long form interviews. I get to do them always on SiriusXM. I don't get to do them on CNN because of the time constraint. Although, when I interviewed Sean Penn a couple of months ago, before any of the Ukraine business, when he had a new movie coming out, and he came on set with me, you'll remember, TC, we sort of reoriented the clock, and I did as long an interview as I've ever done on CNN with Sean Penn.
You pushed it.
And I said that Penn interview is the type of thing that, I think there's a market for.
Or even longer. Yes. Oh, absolutely. That was your pitch.
So here in the Grin Bomb profile of Chris Wallace, Mr. Wallace said that his new CNN Plus series, which airs at 6 p.m. Mondays through Thursdays, was inspired by the work of famed interviewers like Larry King and Charlie Rose. His father, the 60 Minutes legend Mike Wallace, hosted a versatile interview program of his own in the late 50s with guests ranging from Henry Kissinger to the actress Jean Seberg. And I thought, oh my God, there it is. Wallace is doing the long form interview, and he's not going to stay relegated to politics.
No.
Did you read that?
Yeah, no. He's having people on set, and they described the set as being very sparse, and that he just wanted it to be about the two people, and he wanted people to forget, his interviewees to forget that there was a camera in the room.
Okay, the final thing that I said,
he will be good at that.
He'd be terrific.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
I'm thrilled for Chris Wallace. He's great. What a great addition to CNN Plus. Look, he's better at it than I am. He'll be terrific in that role. I'm just like a little bummed that the best ideas that I brought to them are being done by other personalities. Didn't I also say, forget it. Okay. There were a few other thoughts
Should we go now?
I'm going to subscribe to CNN Plus so that I see which of my other ideas ended up in the final mix.
I'm going to find that email.
But with other people who are hosting them. I hope I CC'd you on it because you know I deleted it long ago. Ladies and gentlemen, vote on today's survey question. I mean, what do you think? By 2025, in order to win an Oscar, you will have had to check all the boxes literally for your LGBTQ, gender, disability, et cetera, unless you can check all the boxes. Your movie will not even be considered for an Oscar. Is that a good or a bad thing? That is what I'm asking. Make sure you are registered for the daily Smerconish.com newsletter. You'll get all these headlines in your inbox every single day. See you tomorrow.